Transmission begins. Looking up at the night sky is part of the human experience. But have you ever looked up and just felt completely alone? Like you're a tiny speck of dust spinning through a massive, empty void? Well, you're probably not wrong there. And today, we're going to talk about why. Why is there no chatter, no spam, no drive-by drone laser shows? All we hear is a muffled silence, like being the only one still awake at a sleepover. This isn't new. It's called the Fermi paradox, and it asks a simple question. If the universe is so big and so old, well then, where is everybody? I'm gonna run down every reason that we might be completely alone. Are you ready? Good. Then let's ruin your sense of scale. The Fermi paradox is sort of a cosmic joke, I guess. That one question created an entirely new field of study, which was of course full of existential dread. It's the observation that while alien life should be probable, there is absolutely zero proof that any of it exists. Enter the Drake equation, which tries to calculate the number of advanced civilizations that we should be able to contact, and the answer, even for pessimists like myself, is a lot. The math says that there should be at least a few dozen alien civilizations within our galactic neighborhood, but yeah, there is nothing. So maybe the Fermi paradox isn't a paradox at all. Maybe life is a complete freak accident. At least that's the idea behind abiogenesis, which is of course life coming from non-life. A couple of researchers named Miller and Urey tried to create life in a lab. They zapped their fake ocean with electricity, hoping something would become alive, and they did get a few basic building blocks for life, but nothing more. Nothing organized, nothing that could copy itself. Going from simple chemistry to living, self-replicating cells, it might be nearly impossible. And that's where the rare Earth hypothesis comes in. It says that Earth is the universe's weird, perfect planet. We don't really just have one or two lucky conditions, we have dozens. We have the right kind of star, the right distance from that star, a big moon to keep our climate stable, a molten core protecting us from space radiation, and if even one of those conditions was slightly wrong, there would be no us, just another empty rock floating in space. And while a planet with conditions like Earth might be rare, intelligence could be even rarer than that. Let's say that you do get life. Hey, great. Now you gotta wait. Earth has been around for 4.5 billion years, but really for the first 3.5 billion, it was nothing but bacteria. For 80% of our planet's history, the smartest thing alive was a slime mold. Evolution doesn't care about intelligence, it only cares about survival. Being smart is also pretty expensive. The dinosaurs ruled the planet for 165 million years, but they never invented a drill or a radio. They just survived. Our own civilization is only about 10,000 years old, which is a sneeze in geological time. The scary part is that it almost didn't happen at all. Technological civilizations self-destruct. The problem might not be getting life, or getting big brains inside that life. Maybe the real problem starts after somebody learns to harness electricity and then forgets how to use it safely. That's the idea of the great filter. That is that every smart species eventually finds a way to end itself. Humans, for instance, discovered nuclear energy and immediately learned how to use it to vaporize entire cities. That was before we even learned how to power a refrigerator. And then there's our climate situation. We invented fossil fuel engines and cooked up our own sky. Maybe aliens got this far as well. Maybe they invented their own social media and 20 years later their atmosphere turned to soup because they turned the entire planet into a giant crypto farm. We might never know because all we get is silence. Alternatively, we might just be in the cosmic sticks. Maybe the issue isn't that nobody else exists. maybe they're just not nearby. Astronomers call our area a galactic habitable zone. It's a good spot for life, but Earth is tucked away in a quiet arm. We are the weird, distant cousin who didn't show up to the family reunion because we were lost in a cornfield 3 zip codes over. But what if they are talking and we just can't hear it? What if we're surrounded by signals that we can't understand? I mean, our antennas are mostly tuned for radio waves, but aliens might be using neutrinos or gravity waves or quantum entanglement. I mean, we're on Earth still using 20th century technology, hoping to catch a simple signal. There was one time, however, in 1977, when a telescope picked up a weird signal. It was loud, specific, very likely not natural, and the astronomer wrote "wow" on the data sheet, and it never happened again. Just one mysterious sound from the void, and then silence. If you'd like to hear what the sound from the void sounds like, I'll play a bit of it for you now. I'm not sure whether I'm excited or terrified. Which sort of leads us into our next couple of points. They might be watching and avoiding us. Maybe we aren't alone. Maybe we're just being ignored. This is the zoo hypothesis, and the idea is that alien civilizations are out there, fully aware of us, but have just chosen not to make contact. Maybe we get a little sign next to our enclosure. It says hairless primates. Very violent mating rituals. Stay away. And then there's also the dark forest theory. And that idea is pretty simple, but yeah, terrifying in its own right. Every civilization is a potential threat. You don't know their motives. You don't know their technology. In a universe with no rules or trust, silence might be the only way to survive. If a civilization broadcasts its location, any other species listening has 2 choices: respond and risk being destroyed, or attack first, just to be safe. Our behavior seems pretty insane if this is the scenario, because we've been leaking TV shows and political rants into space for almost 100 years at this point. If the dark forest is real, we aren't reaching out. We are bait. Of course, it's also possible that aliens have just transcended biology. Maybe we're just looking for the wrong shape. Maybe the truly smart aliens moved past their physical bodies a long time ago. Imagine a civilization that learned how to digitize their minds. Well, now they're no longer flesh and bone. They're just software, code, running on a tiny processor the size of a bacterium. They don't talk like us. We're still yelling into space with engines strapped to tin cans. They're not hiding. They're just not very interested in whatever it is that we're doing here. That sort of disconnect might lead us into our next theory, which is, of course, that this is all a simulation. And it's one of my favorites, honestly. Maybe we haven't found aliens because they don't exist in our reality. The idea is that if any advanced civilization can create realistic simulations, they would create thousands or millions of those simulations, and statistically, if that were the case, well then, the chance of us being in the first real, actual universe is pretty freaking tiny. We are probably in one of the fake universes, and maybe this simulation just doesn't include the Alien DLC, although on a more hopeful note, perhaps we are the first. After all, it's only relatively recently that the universe has even had the correct ingredients to make life. More generations of stars create more heavy elements, which are of course needed for planets and oceans and squishy brains. Earth might have showed up during this golden hour. Maybe intelligent life isn't common yet, because the window for it just opened. The silence might not be suspicious after all. It could be full of potential, and it could be all ours. At least if we can pull ourselves together. There's also a final option, of course, and that is just that aliens don't exist. Full stop. After all the ideas, there's one last option, and that is maybe nothing's out there. No alien diplomats, no grand space cities, just galaxies of gas and rocks and silence. We're probably not the chosen ones, you know. We are just the loudest thing that the void has created to this point. Throughout all of these explanations, all of this research, there's been no solid answers except for this. We are the only thing that we have found that is even capable of asking these types of questions. If the cosmos really is empty, then the only monument that it has ever built to its own existence is you and me. So next time you feel small under that vast night sky, remember this. You are literally the loudest thought that this galaxy has had in 13 billion years. I hope you look forward to our next video. Every way your grocery store psychologically manipulates you. It's cheerful, uplifting, fun for the whole family. But for now, stay anomalous, stay deviant. This transmission ends. Moonpunk out.